Hello, Air Force, and welcome to today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed the last one and you took yourself into a journey of imagination. So, as a historian, you will always be asked to go into an imagination journey and try and figure out how the things were in the past. Okay, so today we are going on another journey of imagination. Remember, when you are doing the timeline, one of the things was to do was to look at how 1896, before 1896 looked like. That was just before the railway. Yeah. So today we are going to go into an imagination journey to see how transport was like before 1896. So as you can see on the wall, it says discuss and answer questions on how Kenya was before the railway and what transport options were available. So in your learning pack, you'll see this map and it has some lakes and some rivers. So on this map, we have not put the rivers, but in your learning pack, you'll see that there are rivers. So we are going to look at how the people used to transport their things. Now, first of all, is to remember that these boundaries were not there. Okay, it's good always to remember that these boundaries were not there. They came way after. So as a result, this used to be like one huge, massive, vast country that had no boundaries. Now, when the idea of the railway came, of course, there were some people who were sent to explore, and they looked and found such a beautiful country. As you can see, maybe when they landed, this is what they saw on the Kenyan coast. Okay, lots of coconut trees, yeah, sandy beaches and all that. And when they went into the interior, this is what they may have experienced. Look at that. Open ground with nothing apart from nature. Okay, then they may have even continued further and they saw the Great Rift Valley. Okay, now, so when they came to Kenya or they came to East Africa, they found a vast country with lots of open spaces. So what used to happen in these places, you could have only sections of the country occupied by people, but all the other places were quite open. Now, lots of activity used to happen at the coast. So the transport that used to have or to be experienced a lot at the coast was by using of dhows. So dhows were introduced by the Arab traders who came down from Arabia, also some Indians, some Turks. They also came down to East Africa, and these made the transportation from one city state to another, like Mombasa to Malindi. They had to use a boat or a dhow. Okay, and for those people who are brave enough, they could even use some log boats. Okay, some log boats could transport them from one city island to another city island. Okay, now, so we can say that most of the transportation that happened down at the coast was using the dhows. Now, as they went interior, of course, there were some rivers, and you'll find for the shallow rivers, people could use like these rafts, very simple rafts. Yeah, so they could use simple rafts just to go maybe catch one fish and go back and feed the family. There was no pressure. Okay. Also, for the people who wanted to go on a huge expedition, perhaps they would use these log boats. Yeah, they will cut a tree and maybe that trunk, they will use it to transport or to create a boat, and they would use it to go fishing, transport items across the rivers and the lakes. As you can see, there were several lakes in the East African country. Now, for the people to transport things from one village to another, they did not have a lot of wide roads and paths. So you'll find that people will just carry the things on their heads and they would transport from one village to another. Okay, so you'll find that that was the simplest way of transporting things because there wasn't a huge amount of trade. The reason why there can be a big amount of transport, it's because the trade is massive. But because most of the villages or most of the communities used to be self-sufficient, that means they used to have all the things they needed. They did not need to go to other places to find the items. They were just self-sufficient. So they will not see reasons to transport things a lot. However, that spoken, you would find that the places that were quite plain and flat, they would introduce like oxen, drawn carts, and even donkey drawn carts. The places that were quite flat were around the Indian Ocean plains, no, the Kenyan coast plains, those were quite flat, and also towards the Lake Victoria side. You'll find those places were quite flat. Therefore, ox-drawn carts will be sufficient, as well as donkey-drawn carts. Okay, so those were the ways that people used to transport items from one place to another. Okay, and it wasn't quite a complicated thing. It was very, very simple way. Okay, so this came, or the idea of building a train, like a railway, like I told you last week, was brought about by the need of transporting minerals, materials, and all the things they could have found, the British could have found in the interior of the African continent. But mainly, you found that the transport before 1896 was very, very simple. Very simple. People are self-sufficient. They did not need to go to any other place to find items. Okay, so as you will see in these several lakes, the lakes had different names before 1896. Okay, this one was Lake Turkana because the people who live around here are called the Turkana people. Lake Victoria, which was named after Queen Victoria, was before named as Lake Sango. Lake Sango. Okay, but when the railway arrived in Kisumu, Port Florence, the British renamed the lake and they called it Lake Victoria. So today, basically, what you need to do is just to look at the map that is in your learning pack, and then you answer these questions to the best of your ability. How do you think goods and people were transported in Kenya? What do you think was the mode of transport? Or how did they transport the things? And you are very lucky because I've just explained how the people used to travel, how people used to transport things. Yeah, so it's going to be a very super easy work. You can even do more research and find how else will have people traveled. Okay, they could have traveled maybe in a group. Yeah, yeah, they would have maybe used other means of transport. You can research, but mainly these were the main sources of research. Yeah, some people, like the chiefs, who are very, very senior people, they will be carried by other human beings. Imagine, yeah, because there were no cars, there were no limousines, there were no huge ships, so they will be carried. And it's only because the terrain, as you may have seen earlier, was very, very different. It was not flat. If, say, for example, this gentleman here was the chief, and he needed to visit this place, you see he had to go all the way down and then up. But if he was a chief, he will be carried by his soldiers, okay? And then again, if people wanted to travel from one plane to another, this being a huge national park, perhaps there will be dangers, yeah, because of the wild animals and all that. Okay, so do your best, try and research other ways that the people traveled, and then you let us know. Okay, so we'll be here in the meet in case you want to have any question or comment. Okay, thank you very much. I hope the journey of imagination will take you to wild places.